I got the message too. So welcome everyone to the ABCD show. Hi, I'm Amrita Rajpal. I'm an early years specialist. I've been teaching for 22 years, but I've been learning my whole life. And that's why I have a company named Edu Learn Grow. I'm passionate about creating learning environments that are engaging, meaningful, and fun for children. I'm also a sports nutritionist, an avid traveler, an active Rotarian. I'm the territory head for the Early Childhood Association Mumbai. I'm the founder of EduLearn Grow and the co-founder of the ABCD show.
Hi, I'm Bela Kutwani, also known as Big B. Big for the size of my heart and B for Bela. A fun loving person with a great sense of humor and a passionate pickleball player. National Core Committee member of Early Childhood Association, founder and principal Cosmic Kids International, co-founder Puppet Maestros and the ABCD show. An educationist and a puppeteer who helps teachers to make learning fun for children by using puppets as a tool for teaching. My vision is to help parents and teachers raise emotionally intelligent children.
Welcome to season 2 of the ABCD show. First of all, we'd like to thank all our viewers for viewing our show, for being so committed to your own learning, and for showing us all your love. We are all geared up to get you the best educators to enhance your skills and to take your knowledge to new heights.
We have some really exciting basket of offerings. We have our ABCD shows where we will call experts to talk about their best practices. We will introduce you to some really value for money and effective products and services. And we have some incredible courses that will help you gain mastery in the subject.
Season 2 has a different format. We will have Ask Amrita and Bela on alternate Wednesdays, where you will ask us your questions on child development and we will revert. And on the other 2 Wednesdays, we will have ABCD shows with speakers or we'll showcase new products or new ideas and innovations.
So, parents and teachers, email us your questions on topics relating to early childhood development, education, and rearing on the ABCD Show 6@gmail.com. And we will be back with the answers on Facebook Live. Waiting to see you soon.
So, welcome everyone to the ABCD show. And today we have a very, very interesting topic. Our topic today is STEM, the what and how of STEM. So, let me first tell you what STEM is. STEM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and maths. And STEM schools focus on these subjects to help our nation's youth gain the skills required to succeed in today's challenging world. We have with us STEM expert, Dr. Sonali Dasgupta. She is the founder and director of STEMonsters, an online STEM learning platform for 8 to 14-year-olds across the globe. She is an alumnus of IIT Delhi with a PhD in physics. She's also been a research scientist across UK and US. She has more than a decade's experience of working at world-leading academic and corporate research labs. So STEMonsters is a leading STEM learning ecosystem where children learn accelerated science, technology concepts through fun, hands-on experiments and activities. So Nani, we want to start. I can see that you have a degree in physics from IIT and you've been a research scientist. So how did this concept of STEM monsters occur to you? Also, just tell us more about the age groups of the children you cater to, and let's just start.
Sure. Thank you, Amrita, for that wonderful introduction. I think you've made my job a lot easier by already telling the full form of STEM, because that's the first thing: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So yes, I have been a research scientist for most part of my career across the UK. I worked in Nobel laureate labs, and I spent a good deal of more than a decade, almost 15 years, working and doing some fab research. So I was in the UK and I returned to India in around 2019, end of 2019. And I started looking at the ecosystem over here, and I was figuring out my way as to what do I want to do next, which was my next stage of life. And I kind of realized, having spent so much time outside doing technology and research in the technology domain, that in order for children to gain an interest, being in the research means you're always interacting with people who are trying to learn, whether they are researchers, PhD students, school students, interns. And I kind of realized this, had the realization that what makes someone interested in science and technology? How do we do that? We are a country with more than 1 billion people. And if you look at the statistics, India is actually leading in the number of people who follow science and technology in higher education as compared to the Western countries. So why is it that when we go to a later stage after the education, the innovation coming from India is not as high as the Western countries? With 1 billion people around us, we should have much more innovation. So where are we missing out on the plot? That was the question which started bothering me. And I think that botheration kind of led to a good thing. I felt that the solution to this question or this issue cannot come from top-down approach. We have to have a bottoms-up approach. We have to inculcate the interest of the children in science and technology from a younger age. And what is that age? Does that age have to be when they're already in middle school? Or does that have to be at a point when the neural pathways of a child are getting formed so that their adaptation to new knowledge, new concepts become easier as they grow up? So that was the motivation behind forming this. There was a personal motivation and a professional one. The personal part of it was from my own child, who was, I've been blessed with a child who's very curious. And when we returned to India, I kind of realized that most of her questions were not getting answered from what she was doing in school, what she was studying in school. And she had these wonderful questions about the world around us, which the textbooks could not answer. And it was not just with my child, there were so many children who were going through the same phase. And being a scientist, I was fortunate enough to give her those answers. But I am sure there are so many parents around us who are in the same boat as I would have been, but either there's a lack of time or the lack of guidance in how to do that, how to answer the questions, keep the child curious as they keep growing up, and also inculcate the interest. So with both of this professional and personal desire to create a place where children just love to learn without realizing that they are learning, led to the birth of STEMonsters.
Thank you, Sonali, for being with us today and sharing your knowledge with everyone so that they can also gain some knowledge about what STEM is all about. So we'll move on to our first question for you, Sonali, is what exactly is STEM education and how is it different from the regular education? You can throw some light on that.
Sure. So STEM education, again, although the acronym, it's just an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, I always say that STEM education is not about knowing science and technology. STEM education is about being able to understand how the world works around us. So the world around us is whether we realize it or not, is full of science and technology. The fact that we are talking today is technology. The fact that we are breathing today is science. The fact that we are sitting on a chair is engineering. The fact that we have a grid in front of us of the speakers is maths. So STEM education is a way of understanding how the world works around us and helping the children to grow up with that mindset where they are able to solve a problem using the given resources and connecting the various concepts that they have learned. It is not about knowing science or technology. So usually when we talk about the conventional learning system or the structure that is there, we talk of science separately, we talk of math separately, we talk of English separately. STEM education is a multidisciplinary way of learning without the boundaries of subjects that we as educators have put through the centuries. And I saw a very interesting pictograph a couple of days ago where it showed that technology of how computers looked in 100 years ago and how they look now has changed drastically. But a classroom setting, which was 500 years ago, and how it looks now is still the same. It has not changed. So should that not create a question in the lives of us in the minds of us as adults, that if technology which drives the world around us has changed so drastically, the learning system should evolve along with it. So that is how STEM education is different from conventional education system. It helps us to connect the dots between what we learn to how they are being applied in the world around us, so that when these children grow up, they can think in a way which is unconventional, yet are able to solve a problem by analyzing and thinking out of the box based on the resources they have.
Sonali, I really like your idea about not compartmentalizing these subjects, because I think our brain is integrated, and I think the setting also and the subjects also need to be integrated for our brain to assimilate all that knowledge and to make sense of it. So really, really, absolutely bang on track with what you said. And our classrooms also need to change. We've changed with the subjects and the knowledge, but classrooms remain the same. So I guess we are taking things forward with the NEP, who has suggested so many different changes. And NEP has put a lot of focus on STEM also. So can you sort of throw some light on, that?
Sure. I think that's actually the best step forward with the NEP coming forward, because one thing is for certain, think of yourselves 10 years ago. We didn't have with the internet, nobody knew internet would take our lives in such an integral fashion as they are now. Now, which also means that 10 years from now, we can't predict what is going to be the ruling technology. So if you are going to be educating a child who is 5 years old today, and we are going to equip we want to equip that child to be able to adapt and be prepared for the future of tomorrow, then we cannot actually depend on what is available today or the technology that's available today. We need to prepare them for the technology of tomorrow that is unknown. So the reason why NEP, I think NEP actually brings down STEM learning all the way down to grade 3. And I personally would feel that NEP should bring it down to grade 1 or even kindergarten. The reason again is what we talked about. It is building those neural pathways which keep getting slower and slower as we grow up. So the earlier you train or you let a child develop the pathways which help them to, I think there is certain background. Just give me a minute. There is a little bit of a noise coming in the background. So yeah, so when we when we have the NEP, what it helps us to do is it will help these children to get the critical skills that they need in order to be able to succeed in the unknown world of tomorrow. And in order to succeed, fundamentals never change, right? Fundamental concepts never change. But what changes is how we apply those concepts to the applications that are necessary. So what NEP is trying to do is to prepare today's children for tomorrow's world by equipping them with the key skills that they will need to be successful and adapt to the job landscape of tomorrow. If we prepare them for today, AI is very big. We didn't know about AI 10 years ago. What is the guarantee that AI will be big 10 years from now? Probably not. You will have codes by Google who will say, go put this code on the website and AI is done. Then what does that child do? So what STEM will do is not ask that child, okay, put that code and get prepared for AI. It will give him the key critical thinking skill set where he'll say, I need to solve this problem and I know these are my tools and I'm going to solve for it.
Basically, it's more of an application base. You learn and you apply it and you know whether it's...
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, today's world is all innovation driven, technology driven. And whether you are a painter, you are a music director, whether you are a cinematographer, you have to understand science and technology to a certain extent to be able to apply that to yourself and your career, your passion, in order to be able to move forward. So what STEM education does is it helps you to be prepared for whatever field that you want to follow in the future with the fundamental skill sets. It's like a toolbox. It is not about knowing physics, chemistry, mathematics. It is about having this toolbox which you can use as and when you want to use.
Lovely. So can you just let me know that how can we use STEM education in the early years, offline and online? So how can we, because now we are doing online classes as well, and even, so how can we use STEM in that online class as well?
So for example, our STEMonsters is a completely online platform. Now, with the younger children, of course, online is always a challenge to have them sit in front of a screen. But believe me or not, when children are doing something hands-on, you will see that their attention span is much more than if they're just watching the screen. So one of the simplest ways, even if for a pre-primary child, for example, if let's talk about something like numbers, that's a very basic skill that you would teach to a grade 4, grade 5 child. Now, a simplest way that I can think of to introduce STEM in doing numbers is you can say, okay, we are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, let's say 1 to 10 counting. Can you think of animals with the number that we are talking of? And it makes you think, right? And that is the purpose. It will make the child think. And it will make the child connect to something they have seen around them. A spider has 8 legs, an octopus has 8 tentacles, or an insect has 6 legs. Is there anything with 5? Is any living creature? No, doesn't. So see what you've done now. Just with this simple conversation, you have asked the child to think, you have asked the child to analyze, compare, and also learn. This is STEM education. So it doesn't always necessarily have to be an activity. It is making the child connect to the world around him and realizing it's omnipresent. And the next time when you go back to the child, you can tell the child that, okay, there are humans are 2-legged. Humans are the only 2-legged animal actually. Now in the next class, if you were to do STEM, you would go back into the history of were humans always 2-legged? How did we evolve from the apes? So see the connection of how the world goes with science and technology. And your child starts thinking in a certain way. And those pathways we keep talking of start forming. So you're connecting maths with biology, with history, with sciences.
Absolutely. So I can see basically now everything is online, and we don't have so much choice because people cannot go to a physical space to learn right now. And we also have parents who are doubling in as parents and teachers, and they have so much on their plate.
Yeah.
Is it possible for them to do things with STEM, incorporate STEM with children at home without having the proper, apparatus and setup and
Absolutely,
set up,
absolutely. I think one of the myths about STEM, which is quite popular, is STEM is about expensive equipment, STEM is about labs, STEM is about technology. It's not. And as I started this wonderful conversation, STEM is about knowing how the world works around us. It is not expensive, it is not super complicated. Simple things like you want to talk to your child. I always tell, although we focus on children 8 years and above, they all have smaller young kids. So I'll give you a very simple example. We were doing some electronic circuit with a Happy Diwali card where, you have these glow cards. So the children made the glow card themselves for Happy Diwali, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. We did it online. And they sent us the videos that, ma'am, I made a Happy Diwali card and the LED glows and everything when you open the card. This one child had a 4-year-old sister. And the parents sent me a picture later on within half an hour with the same card that his elder brother had made. And instead of the LED, she put a glitter star over there. And she said, it glows like a star. So, the issue, the thing about STEM education is it is about interaction. Talk to your child, make them think, do simple things. How can we are talking of the sun, we are talking of the sky, right? And you ask your child to draw a sky during afternoon and during sunset. Make them think that the sky is orange in the evening and blue on a clear day at noontime. And then you start talking, why do you think it is blue and red? The same sky, the same sun. You brought in such a complex topic of light and scattering. I don't want to go into details, but you have basically put a seed of questioning in a 4-year-old child. Yes, the same sky has so many different colors. So it is not about, you don't have to do a complicated experiment. For a young child, it is all about imagining. Although we started this topic with STEM and we call ourselves also STEM monsters, arts, imagination, curiosity is an integral part of STEM. So it's actually STEAM nowadays. I still prefer to call it STEM with imagination because the greatest inventors were people who imagined first. You cannot progress without imagination. And one of my favorite sentences is today's science fiction, which is imagination, is going to be tomorrow's reality. So science, STEM doesn't, a lot of parents think, oh, it's science. I don't want my child to know science. It's going to spoil his imagination. That's a very common myth. But STEM taught the right way promotes imagination.
I think that's why it's called STEAM, no?
It is called STEAM.
Because
it is an acronym. It has the arts, yes. Arts and imagination. So when you're doing coloring, you can do so much with colors. When you do watercolors, which is again a favorite topic with pre-primary children, talk of primary colors, make them think what happens when you mix the colors. Why stop at labeling this is red, this is blue, this is yellow? Take it a step forward, mix them, introduce the word primary. They can absorb just 10% and you should be more than happy. Because what STEM education does is the 3 R's, that's I call it, the 3 R's. STEM education is an experience, right? It is about doing things. Experiences stay with us much longer than reading or listening. It stays with us forever. Well, at least 10 times longer than reading or seeing something. So the 3 R's that I keep saying about STEM education is faster recall. So see that neural pathway we were talking, the experience they had made. Tomorrow, after 2 years, 3 years, when they are in, let's say, grade 1, grade 2, and they're talking of primary colors, you've already introduced the word. So the recall is faster. then it helps with longer retention, which is pretty understandable. You're doing something, so you will retain that knowledge for much longer. And the last is better relate. Where does the relate come from? Remember that example I was giving about how humans evolved from two-legged animals? So the maths and the history are now connected. Now, tomorrow, if they have to make a robot, let's say, they have that idea with them. They are now connecting, making these networks between different topics. So longer retention, faster recall, and better relate. That's what STEM education does.
But I wanted to understand, Sonali, is it important for an adult to always be sitting with the child when he's doing some activity of STEM or some experiment that he's been doing? Does
No,
it
I
require
don't
adult
think so.
supervision?
I don't think so. So one thing definitely has to be thought of carefully being educators is that the experiment or the activity must be child safe. That's the first step to any development of any STEM curriculum, because these are hands-on things. However, once that aspect is taken into picture, think of this painting the sky. You don't need to be sitting next to the child. You need to put in that idea of sky at dawn and sky at noon, and you can let the child do it. What is necessary is the engagement pre and post the activity rather than through the activity. So that is very important. However, once during the design of the curriculum, if the curriculum is properly designed to be child safe, there's no need to be sitting through the activity. And it can be done. It can be done.
The child is a little small, he may even mess up the paint, but it's okay, I guess.
That's okay. That's the part of learning, right?
True.
That's part of the learning always.
Right.
Absolutely. I think that whole part of experiences and feeling it, remembering it is all will only happen if the child is involved in it. So it's okay if they miss or whatever. So right now, Sonali, what is coming to me is there's this whole rage about coding. You know, we have so many companies that have started with White Hat Junior and whatever. And they're not even companies that have just propped up, but these are companies which are, every child wants to go to a coding class or a robotics class. So is coding and robotics and all like highly STEM, would you say?
What I'd like to say, well, I think it's again coming back. There are so many myths associated with STEM. This is one of the bigger ones which sits on the top of the list. Is STEM is robotics and coding. How I like to put it is robotics and coding is STEM, but STEM is not robotics and coding. So robotics and coding is a small part of the T in STEM. Yeah, small part of T in STEM is robotics and coding. I am not saying it is not important. I'm saying it is one part of many things that STEM stands for. So all of this euphoria about coding, euphoria about robotics, is it necessary? Yes, absolutely. Is it necessary for a child who is 8 years old? I don't believe it. I've been a scientist my entire life, working with the most complicated codes and softwares that are out there. I can tell you for a fact, if you can think, coding is nothing but a syntax. Syntax in normal word, like the definition of syntax is how you write a sentence, what language you write it in. Today's Scratch might be the rage for children. Tomorrow it will become something else. Now, if you're going to tell your child the 4 sentences to draw a square on the Scratch or whatever game they are making, if they don't understand why they're doing what they're doing, they will fall flat on their face tomorrow if that software changes to something else. What you need, we do coding with our kids, the 8-year-olds, and we don't use screen. Believe me or not, we don't use screen to teach coding. And all of our kids.
Chalo, Chalo, bye.
Meg, can you just mute yourself, please?
So, yeah, so coding is important, but more important is to make the child capable of thinking through the steps that take him from a problem to a solution. The critical thinking. It is not about being able to make a game. If you can make one game, you can make 10 other games. Of course, you can become an expert game developer when you have finished your schooling, your education, and you're an adult and you want to do it. You don't need to be a game developer at 8 years old. You don't need to do robotics at 7 years. If you understand mechanics, if you understand what are the linkages, of course, it's good to do as a hobby. And that's what, again, I keep coming back to saying, these are important skills. Coding and robotics, AI, machine learning, they are all important. Are they important to a 6-year-old? That is the question. How do you introduce these topics? The problem doesn't lie with what they are learning. The problem lies with how they are being introduced to it.
True, actually, everything is understanding a sequence of events.
Yes.
Would also be coding, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Or following directions could be coding.
Yes.
And we all know that children learn from concrete experiences to abstract. So I guess it's important that children learn it in the preschool years.
Yes.
And develop this whole base before they start going for classes and
Yes.
making it,
Yeah, I mean, we have this thing about introducing the concept of coding to children because everybody is fascinated. They want to know more. We have this thing where one of the person is the coder and the other person is the robot. All right. And they don't get to see the code. So suppose we tell the coder, your job is to make the robot pick up a bucket and bring it to a certain place. Now you can only give single sentence instructions to the other child. And the child can only do exactly what the person has said, the other coder has said. Now, if one child says, pick up a bucket, the person picks up the bucket and keeps picking it up because you haven't said stop. That is where coding concept comes in, right? So you can teach critical thinking abilities without opening a software, which is the most important bit. It's not about the software, it is about the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have another question for you, Sonali. I was wondering if STEM education is relevant only if a child is interested in science. Can the interest in science be inculcated or does he have to be born with it?
I believe children are born with all interests. As adults, as parents, it is our duty, I would say, to expose them to everything and not make judgments that this is what he likes or she likes. Until they are at an age where they realize where their interest lies, as educators, as parents, as adults, it is our duty to expose them to everything. So an interest is again one of those, that neural pathways being made. You can develop the interest of a child, whether it is science or technology or maths or arts, you can develop the interest. And it all boils down to how we are introducing a topic to them. I have children in grade 9 going for boards coming to me and saying, I don't want to do electronics. I think I'm very bad at it. And after the module coming back and saying, ma'am, I never realized that electronics could be so easy and interesting. And that she's going to 10th, imagine the kind of pressure she has from our current education system. And she goes back and she makes projects during her Diwali break and her Christmas break. So it is all, and this is tougher because she's already grade 9. It is so much easier when they are at a younger age. So with saying that my child is not interested in science, so I don't think STEM is the right thing for her, is us judging and putting our judgment on the child without giving her the exposure. I have kids.
Teachers make a big difference in this point.
Teachers do make a difference because we are not here to judge. We are here to expose them to as many things as possible. Our STEMonsters, we have a group in STEMonsters with children who are excellent musicians, dancers, painters. And what STEM does is, even if they decide, what we are talking of is a career. Career is very different from interest, right? So even if a child decides to follow a path like, I don't know, what is the career that you would think which is absolutely no relationship to STEM? Give me a career which is absolutely no relationship to STEM.
I think every career is related to STEM, but yeah, maybe dance,
Dance,
choreography, or
yeah,
something.
dance, right? Dance. Now, when a dancer is on a stage, you have reached a certain stage. That's a wonderful one, Amrita, actually. The lighting, how the
Wait, I
lighting
can
would
see the
fall.
connection to STEM, but I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
exactly. So how the lights would fall on you, what kind of materials should you be using so that you're visible, what kind of a background should you have for the contrast. This is all science, and they will learn it in their school years, and they will keep it with them. They may not associate it with science, but they will end up using that knowledge at some point. And that's what STEM does. It gives you the toolbox. How you use it is entirely up to you later on. I think as parents, as educators, it is not correct to say, oh, my child is not interested in science. I don't want to expose him or her to STEM. Give it a chance. See them bloom, see them make new connections. And everyone goes back with a different inference. You know, that's the beauty of hands-on learning. Everybody goes back with something different. At the end of our sessions, when we ask children, what was your takeaway? Trust me, each child has a different takeaway. Somebody would say, I love the color. And the other would say, I loved how how it how it was shining brightly when I put it under the light. Or somebody would say, I loved mixing process. I'm going to use it in something else. Every child will take what she or he wants to associate it with. That's the beauty of not having boundaries, not saying this is physics, this is maths.
I agree totally. And when you were talking about that child, who was in ninth standard and told you that I don't like electronics, what came to me was there's so much burden of
Yes.
studies on children today.
Yes.
They are absolutely burdened.
Yes.
And STEM seems to be, can STEM learning be used as an alternate to this, regular learning that we have in school? Because that clearly that learning is burdensome for a child.
Yes, it is, absolutely. And you know what I feel is, if structured properly, I will not say that STEM is going to replace your traditional education. I will not say that. That would be wrong. Primarily because I think our entire education system, at least in Southeast Asia, is still not mature enough to give the chance to a child who has only explored hands-on. They still need degrees, they still need to show something. And that is the reason I would say it is not going to replace the traditional education system. However, having said that, I do have homeschoolers, multiple of them. There are lots of homeschool children who come. There are lots of children from IB who come to STEMonsters from Singapore and other places. What I realize is a lot depends on how you are disseminating the knowledge. Do you want to make it fun, or do you want it an additional education system? When you make it fun, and again, coming back to these children, I have a group of children who are in grade 9. They came to me and they said, ma'am, I have my physics exam tomorrow. I'm like, why are you coming to this class? Go study. And they're like, no, ma'am, this is the only break we get. That is what learning should be. It gives me goosebumps. Even today, I hear it every week. It still gives me goosebumps because they come and they say, yes, but coming to STEMonsters, doing that, something which is not in the syllabus, that's the only break I get. And that's what education should be about, right? It is about not making it feel like learning in spite of it giving them the skill set and the learning. So yeah, I think if you keep it fun, children will never look at it as a burden. They will look at it as a hobby. They will look at it as something they want to come to. Some of our kids have come, we have weekly sessions, right? Some of the kids have been coming for last 18 months, week on week. And they say, ma'am, I'm going to leave you once I'm in grade 10. I'm like, I don't do grade 10. So that is the kind of engagement you want to create. That is the kind of ecosystem environment you want to create. Children come because they're having fun. What is the outcome? The outcome is they are learning. But what they feel is they're coming to have fun.
It's very important to have fun. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
you can't learn, in fact. Without any fun, it's not good to learn that way. So can you tell me, Sonali, how does the STEMonsters program work actually?
Right now, we are catering to parents directly, and we have weekly sessions for different age groups. Although it is still a mixed learning platform, so we club children between grade 3, 4 in one batch, 5, 6 different batches, and so on and so forth. Because peer learning is also something which is very important in STEM. Children learn from each other, and you can create your curriculum in a way where everybody learns. And as I again said, every takeaway is different. Every child's takeaway is different. So we do online, we are completely online as of now, and children join in every week and they do experiments at their home. They have their parents to immediately go and show the experiment. Parents are relieved because it's child safe. Parents are relieved, oh, I don't have to wait for 1 hour and wait for the child, do the experiment. It's like 3 hours for a 1 hour activity. That is taken care of. And the best part, which I personally think is very useful for children, is they get to meet these children from different demographies. Somebody is in Singapore, somebody is in Delhi, somebody is in Bangalore, and they're all learning different things in school. But they come to this place and they talk with each other and they learn from each other, in spite of the different backgrounds and different systems that they're coming from. So that's what we do right now, which is directly to the parent. The reason we have not actually gone to pre-primary or kindergarten schooling, and I do have a lot of people coming and asking, when are you going to create curriculum for the pre-primary? The primary reason why I am still hesitant to do it, we are going to launch it soon, but the reason we are still not doing it is because in the online mode, I don't believe children younger than 6 can effectively learn, however hands-on you make it. A parent needs to be there. And as you said, parents are doubling up as educators, nannies, teachers, wives, everything. It is very difficult on the parents. And rather than asking the parent, okay, you can ask your child to sit in front of the camera and we'll do the thing, we thought it would not be fair to the parent. Because everything that we do, children do it independently. And STEM is also about that, right? Being confident in what you do. It's developing the confidence and telling the child it's okay to fail. Experiment doesn't work. No experiment works for the first time. Edison failed like 500 times before he made the bulb. And it's part of learning. So yeah, so right now, to answer your question, Bela, we are in the online format. And we meet up every week based on the age group of the children. We do experiments each and every week. We have zero blackboard.
Do you give them a kit or something? How is it?
Yes.
They have the materials already at home?
So our focus is on, again, I started with this, I think. Our focus is to not make it seem complicated. So 80% of the materials are things you will find at home. We do send a kit for the rest 20%, which is slightly more difficult to find, or a parent may not have, like something very simple, I don't know, like an ice cream stick. You may not have 40 ice cream sticks in the house, right? So things like those, just to make life simpler for the parents, we do send out a kit once the child registers, which will, and again, 80% of the materials are in and around the house. There's no specialized equipment. 20% is for the things which may not be available in the house, usually.
What if a school wants to do this in their own school now? I mean, and their strength is about like 40 kids in one class. Is it possible to conduct an activity like this with 40 kids?
So yes, it is. However, it depends on what format, again, you're talking of. So when it is hands-on and completely online, we actually prefer to do it not more than 10 kids in a group, because for us, STEM education is a very self-paced learning process. Each child does it at their own pace. So you can't give individual attention to more than 10 kids in a group. And that's what we have been following very strictly. However, if it's a school, for example, and now offline schools are starting off, if there are, what we usually do, and we've done that once or twice in the past as a workshop, is if there is a teacher in the class of those 40 students, or two teachers, for example, then the teachers work with the instructor in order to just help out the children in what they have. So it is doable, but 40 is still probably on the higher side. It would somewhere be around 25 to 30 kids. Usually IB schools have about 28, 30 kids in a class. And with two assistants, it can be doable. So we are working in we are actually right now developing, we have seen interest from a lot of schools with the NEP coming up, trying to figure out a modality where, we can be their STEM partners, because teachers also need to be trained. And STEM being such a new topic, teachers do find themselves in a spot when they said, okay, now go integrate STEM into your social sciences class, for example. So we are working on that very closely in order to develop some kind of a curriculum where it is not going to be just teacher training. Of course, the teacher will be there will be hand holding in the beginning for the teachers. And then they can implement it further, either with the help from one of our instructors, or over the course of a certain period, they can do it themselves. And one of the things about STEM is, you need to keep evolving. It's not like CBSE or ICSE. You can't have the same experiment 2 years, 3 years going on and on and on, because technology changes, right? So like we've done more than, I think, 300 experiments now. Wow. We have 3 batches, 1.5 years every week. So that's like 50 into, I don't know. Yeah, we've done more than 300. And we're still making new ones, because there's still topics we haven't covered. So yeah, but it's doable. To answer your question, Bela, if it is more than 10 children, even if it is online, there needs to be some help to help out the kids in the form of teachers being involved. Teachers have to be.
But if it's online, I'm sure the parent is at home with the child, if it's an online class.
So if it's a young child, if it's a really young child who is grade 1, grade 2, or even, I don't know, upper KG, as you call it, probably 5 years old, 5 to 6 years old children, for that, either a parent, or even nowadays, a lot of parents also have, I was reading this article, parents also have nannies, or I don't know what they're called actually, to help out the children at home, because parents have been in a soup. I can tell you, I'm a parent, so fortunately my daughter's about that age. But yeah, so any adult who can just help them out, I think it's a perfectly doable solution. In fact, for the younger children, if there is one adult with each child, I've done up till, so I did one session for younger children, and we had about 30 kids. But each child had an adult with them.
That's right.
For that 1 hour. Yeah. So then it's doable. Then it's absolutely doable. And it doesn't stop there, right? So our modality is not to just do an experiment and finish. We send a summary sheet. We give additional activities which you can lengthen on. Like we can extend on that, learn further from the same activity. What all can you do after the class? Because it's a continuous process. So yeah.
So let's open it up to the questions. If anybody has any questions in the group,
Absolutely.
you can answer the questions. You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Anybody in the audience for some questions?
Oh, I have received a question.
Yes, please.
Ms. Subhalakshmi says, can you please give an example for taking STEM method if we take a topic for math as currency for senior KG? Absolutely. One of the easiest ways, and this is all off the top of my mind, so sorry if it's not completely thought out, but a simple way, if you want to do currency, for example, and the first thing that would come to my mind if I were to do it, take the world map. Take the world map, start pinning the, so STEM again, I said it's a correlation, right? Pin the countries you want to talk about on that map. Then take your currency. okay? And assign one child, let's say we are doing India and UK, right? So assign one child, you are in India, another child, you are in UK. You give them the printouts of how the rupee looks like, just the symbol of the rupee, just the symbol of the UK pound. And now you say, they are different sizes, so you won't be able to fit in, right? You can't exchange this. You are trying, I don't actually understand the complete question, but if it's about currency exchange, then you say that you have these 60 pounds, which is basically, so you say, if I have 1 rupee for the child who is Indian and the child who is from UK, so-called with the pound in hand, and you say, I can't just exchange because they're different sizes. What do I do now? I can give you this, but in return, you have to give me 60 of your currencies. So it is as simple as now the child thinks, oh, I am from UK. They will associate immediately. Which country was I supposed to be from? I'm supposed to be from UK. What was that thing I had in hand? Pound. Instead of writing on the blackboard, you have it like actual currencies and you have a world map. So you have connected your world map to your maths, to your currency. So if the question, again, as I said, I don't know what the question actually says. If it is about currency exchange, that's the easiest way to explain the currency exchange to a kindergarten child, that they are not equal. Currencies from different.
I think she wants to ask something else. You want to ask something, Subbalakshmi?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening,
please.
everyone. Yes,
Sure.
thank you for the attending the question, ma'am. Actually, we soon will be having a project display online for our kids, and we have taken money magic as our topic, and we actually are going to introduce STEM in that. So we are actually trying to see the possible ways of putting STEM in the topic of currency, where the currency has come from, the ancient currency, the current currency, the foreign currencies, why do we need money, and the technology like the ATMs, the bank, everything we are introducing. But somewhere or the other, the STEM, some or the other thing, S is going to be failed. You know, the science, what is there is lagging somewhere. So this is what actually I wanted to ask.
Thank you, Subbalakshmi, for that question. Very interesting question.
Thank
So,
you.
So when you're doing a board, as I said, science doesn't necessarily always mean experiments. Social science is also science. It's about the evolution of currency. What you could probably do, because your age group is very young, you could do a roadmap. You know, you can make a road on I don't know how you're doing the project, and you say this is where it all started. And along the way, and that's where your maths comes in, you say 100 years. So you do it to scale. In 100 years, this is what evolved. There were coins and there were, the things that kings used to exchange. Then you put in another 10 years. Then you show, or 50 years, you show rupees came in, coins came in, right? Then you show another 10 years, last 10 years. Now it's all digital, it's mobile phones. So it's digital currency. So doesn't necessarily have to be an experiment. When you look at STEM, STEM is about connecting everything. Economic science is also science. So science, and when you bring in that thing about ATM and digital money and the evolution, you have actually interconnected everything. Digital money is the most recent one. So you cannot actually show digital money. So you can bring in that concept of credit cards, even tech.
Okay.
So these are all in the last 20 years. So it's very difficult to formulate the entire project that you are thinking to showcase, but these are some ideas which I think you can do in order to show the evolution of money and why is money required.
Okay.
Can I also suggest, Subbalakshmi, sorry, but I loved what Sonali said initially with that map over there of all the different countries. Now, all this is also environmental science.
Yes.
Right. Girija, can you please mute yourself?
Ma'am, you have muted yourself. Amrita, ma'am, you have muted yourself.
I was trying to mute Girija, so I think I muted myself instead. Yeah, but yeah, so when we're talking about this, when we're looking at different cultures and we're looking at different countries, we're also looking at knowing our world, which is environmental science.
Right.
So, you're putting in your science over there, so you could have a good start with that.
Exactly.
Don't think of science as physics, chemistry, is what I want to say. It's not physics, chemistry, biology.
Okay.
No, don't restrict your understanding of science to physics, chemistry, biology.
Okay.
Well, actually, I am tempted right now to talk to you about what science is, but maybe I should leave it for an Ask Amrita and Bela segment of what is science.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for the question.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Anybody else? Another question? We have just one more last question. If anybody would like to ask.
I think Celine is saying something. We can also have a market. Let me see. We can also have a market set up to show the currency and trade happening in concern with the currency. Very nice.
Yeah,
Play
that
the
is exactly
Monopoly
yeah,
game, I would say.
Monopoly game. That's exactly what I was saying. You know, you can assign children to different countries, give them their own currencies, and then say you can't exchange this because these are different. So then the concept of currency conversion comes into picture. So there are many ways to actually do these things hands-on, and it's wonderful to actually start talking money from a young age in a positive way, because there's also a lot of, like my child is 10 and she was asking me, what's investment? How should I invest my pocket money? Can you tell me how to do that? And it's such a wonderful, it's lacking. We should have these conversations. It's important.
Absolutely. So what I'm getting right now is, when with Subhalakshmi's question and everybody else's conversation is, STEM is applied and it has to be application based with technology, engineering, maths, and all this has to be in a context, just like what Subhalakshmi said, creating that project, it has to have a context of why, and you need to have a context, and you also have to have a connection with the classroom and the world.
Yeah, that's the first question. It's so nice, right? It's a full circle. We started with what is STEM education. And if you remember, for those who had not joined, I said that STEM education is understanding how the world works around us. To each and everything, bring in a relationship to the world around you. That's how you're going to make the world a better place. If you understand how it works, if you understand the problems, then you can come up with the solutions.
I think Rupesh has a question there. He wants to know how to motivate the school teachers to adapt STEM.
Very, very pertinent question. Very pertinent question. There, I would be lying if I said there are no roadblocks and no inertia of the teachers to pick up STEM education. Teachers, one of the biggest roadblocks that I see in my interaction with so many educators down the line is there is still a lack of information what STEM education is about. Teachers especially, unfortunately, feel intimidated. Oh, I can't do STEM. So one of the things is definitely to connect the teachers to the experts, to STEM experts who can actually remove that roadblock and the scare and the fear about STEM education. That is one of the first things. The second is obviously how to implement it. How can STEM be implemented in the regular day-to-day class? Because I can understand teachers have 30 children to cater to, 40 children to cater to. How do you do STEM with 40 children in a class? And I think it will happen it will take time as more and more parents also become aware of STEM education, start appreciating the teachers for what they're doing in bringing a new way of innovative learning process. Motivating school teachers, I think, will come from recognition. Recognition is something which will take time to come. So ultimately, I think the question boils down to a very philosophical one, and I don't want to get there because I will not stop talking when I go down that path. But motivating school teachers to adapt STEM is essentially, if a teacher is motivated in helping the children learn, no matter what, I think the motivation comes automatically. They're teachers who are committed to teaching in a new way, which is effective and needed for the world of tomorrow, explaining to them that STEM education or teaching via STEM philosophy is what is going to get their children out there is the biggest motivation you can give. This is what is going to make their children prepare for the unknown future. Because ultimately, we are all educators for our children. That's what we are trying to do, prepare them. I don't know if anybody else has a better answer without going into philosophy.
I think you said it perfectly well, bang on. So I think we have come to the end of our session today, Sonali. It was really wonderful having you on our platform, and you've really explained everybody about STEM so beautifully, I must say. So I think you can also share your number in case anybody wants to get in touch with you. They could get in touch with you personally.
Or share your website or whatever.
Website detail, yes. And everybody else who don't know much about ABCD, we also have a ABCD Thought Leaders group on Facebook. You can join that group. Please come and share whatever you've learned today. One small little comment so that others can also benefit from there. Or maybe you could share a takeaway right here on the chat. What is your one takeaway from today's session?
Yes, that would be wonderful. If I really hope there is one takeaway, like a STEM session, one takeaway from today's session about STEM. That would be wonderful.
How motivated are you all to start STEM? I would like to know.
Yes. I think, Sonali, you could also put up some of your STEM activities on our Thought Leaders group, so that people will interact, read, and spread the word around.
Will do, absolutely. So I am sharing my website, phone number, and our social media handles. I hope I have typed them correctly so that they don't end up going somewhere else. So anyone who wants to get in touch, feel free to do so, whether it is about STEM or whether it is about how to introduce STEM. I would be happy to share it with you or your students or your teachers. And yeah, ultimately, that's wonderful, Rupesh. Yes, STEM is not a subject. That's wonderful. It is learning. It is a perspective to see things. That's what he says. That's wonderful. So I think that's bang on, actually. Anyway, so for I get distracted anyone talking STEM. So yes, if anybody has any doubts, any questions, please feel free to get back to us. We are catering to a lot of parents, as I said, directly, the children in the age group of 8 to 14 years, doing all of STEM, science, tech, engineering, math, not just tech, not just science. That is important. Connecting the different topics, connecting the different subjects. India is still relatively new to this topic. It will take time, but it will happen eventually. And the earlier you get onto it, the better it is for your kids, is what I would say. So please feel free to get to me, reach out to me for any question, any answers, anything that you would like to talk about regarding STEM and innovative learning methods for the children.
So thank you once again. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye,
Bella.
everyone,
Thank
for
you,
coming
Amrita.
to the
Bye,
ABCD
everybody.
show. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sonali. It was lovely. And thank you, everyone, for attending the ABCD show.
Thank you very much.